moves markets for different currency pairs. So if fundamentals are the main driver, datas are really the timing tool. They tell us when things are more likely to happen, particularly on the seasonal stuff, the COD a little bit longer. What are you looking at this week, Ash?
Do you know, it's quite a quiet report in some respects this week. There's a couple of notable things, though. So if we look here, this is quite interesting. We were talking about we've been talking about Bitcoin recently. Look how much little the shorts changed from last week. The short sellers are down by down by negative 39%. So the shorts, in according to COT data, have just left, and the longs have just increased their positions just a little bit. So this is only week on week, but I think that's quite notable. And we did see a rally with Bitcoin this week. The other notable one here is the Swissy. We look down here at the Swissy. The shorts have increased their positions by 14%, and but at the same time the longs have decreased their position, but only by negative 5%. So that could be a little bit negative for the Swissy. So there are a couple of things. So if we're looking longer term, then the picture is very different, and the thing with both the Swissy and Bitcoin is that the longer term data, and this is what I'd really want to see. I'd really want to see that longer term data kind of match this short term data, so we get a little bit more of a immediate signal. Now, if we look at the Swissy, then this is where the index currently lies, which is just around about the 50% mark. So the longer term read on this is relatively unclear in many respects. You can see that these are the extremes, down at 0 and up near 100. So because we're floating in this area, then it's not so useful. But it would be, I think it's going to be an interesting week for the Swissy, because, as I say, that the short term move has been for those shorts to increase their positions, and also Bitcoin with the shorts just to get out of the way. So that really leaves us to kind of try and get a read from what do the longer term seasonals suggest, and is there any confluence with the longer term seasonals in relation to this short term move with the Swissy? And this is where we do get a little bit more of a corroborating bit of evidence here. The short-term move on the seasonals are down for really starting next week. So as it starts on Monday, we do see potentially the Swissy starting to weaken into around about the June period, and the same with the weighted average as well. So the Swissy could be one to watch this week. If you don't like the fact that those longer term points of information are not clear enough, so you're not likely to be holding on to something if you do get a sell signal with the Swissy. But sell signals with the Swissy may well have some follow through, because the short term COT data suggests that the short positions have increased, and the seasonals suggest that that there is some weakness coming with the market as well. We'll also have a look at some other aspects as well, which I think is quite notable. Gold. And this is really where we start to go, well, actually, is it a week that we just either look for those short-term signals, or are we waiting just that little bit longer? That May the 14th particular day, that the potential D-Day of May the 14th, this might be enough to put people just on the sidelines for this week. And look at that, minus 2% decrease for the shorts, and 0% for gold. Sorry, that's copper. Here we go. 0% for gold on the shorts, and minus 4% for the longs. So really, there's not anything notable there that we can latch onto, and it's like that right across the board. So I don't want to list everything that we've got here, but if you look at the change of interest from this particular week, there's not really a lot going on. The Aussie is one of the ones that I think is most notable, because if there is a downward movement into the stock market, the Aussie is the one that I'd be looking at as a currency that would be most likely to follow it down. And you can see here that that the change from last week, it doesn't look like the commercials are currently on the move. 0% change in the short side, 0% change in the long side, and even though, when we look at the actual longer term index for the COT data, it would suggest that there is some weakness, potentially building for the Aussie. It's not saying that those particular positions were put on last week. So I'd like to see just a bit more evidence. Now, it doesn't mean that if we do get a signal with the stock market that it's coming down, that we shouldn't try and jump on board an Aussie short. But it will make it that we are going to be slightly ahead of the information that we won't get, to be fair, until Friday from the COT data. So we do have to remember that the COT data is reported on Tuesday, but only is gathered on the Tuesday, but only then reported on the Friday. So we do have a 3-day wait before we really know what the commercials are doing week on week. But if we want to have that little bit more comfort and confidence, we will have to wait until next week before we get a genuine signal from what these guys are doing with the likes of the Aussie and the Kiwi, which is another notable one. Because as I say, you know, when we look at the Aussie, look at the seasonals with this, very, very weak. Yeah, this and the Kiwi are the steepest moves to the downside. So potentially a change coming, but no clear signals on the short term, except potentially in Bitcoin and the Swissy. And that's me wrapping up, mate.
Cheers, Ash. Thanks for interesting stuff. I noticed that Bitcoin, these numbers came out Friday, and Bitcoin's rallied a little bit over the weekend, up around 58.5, 58.6 at the moment, and continuing up. And we're looking for Swiss weakness, so we're looking for a dollar Swiss rally, right?
Yeah, it would certainly appear that way. If you just look at the week's change from this week to last week, that would certainly suggest that that the Swissy shorts have just started to build a little bit. So there could be a little bit of fluctuation in the dollar Swiss to the upside.
Cool. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, obviously after NFP on Friday, we've got a great opportunity. For those that are looking for that trade with the big sell in the US dollar, if you're going to make that play, Monday, Tuesday would be the time to make that play. If you were looking for it, you'd think that, and maybe this is a trade that perhaps shouldn't go against the US dollar given the bearish nature of the US dollar, but the US dollar may continue down and blunt it a little bit, but this certainly looks like an opportunity. It certainly looks like an opportunity. A little bit of buying coming here. You'd be a bit interested in it, right?
I would also say that we need to be aware that because of what happened last week on Friday and the driver was bearish for the dollar, we are waiting for that driver to go long before we wait for the technical pattern. I wouldn't want to just buy into it because the technicals shape up. What's going to be the driver? So we need to look at the fundamental data release this week.